DFD, what's the first thing we should do? We should create the resources, right? That's it, right? So what I'm looking for now, right, and one of the more important skills as a developer is the ability to completely articulate your thoughts as a developer. So all of you were correct, but you have to get into the habit of being able to finish your sentence and have that complete thought. So you are correct that we do need to do resources, but the whole thing would be, now that we have the Rails app, let's use the Rails generators and generate the resource for our models, right? So it's like just using these one key words here and there is not going to be as helpful when you're pair programming, because sometimes your partner might not fully understand what you're saying. So one of the top two most employable, desirable skills, especially in the interview, is can you explain to me, using technical terms, what is it that you're trying to do, right? The gold standard is if you can explain it to me, and I essentially write the code for what you explain, and it runs, you're good to go, right? So I literally cannot do right here and go, oh yeah, let's do resource. But if you were to say to me, all right, great, we had this Rails app, we seeded into it, let's generate the resource for our model, then that would make so much more sense to me, and I can write that code immediately. I can literally do Rails G, the resource, right? And we can do like party. And then let's add those attributes, right? So party has a what?
Name.
Let's cut these names out, right?
Location.
Name is fine. Sigh. Tough crowd, tough crowd. No, it's just I always use name, right? And the reason I want to get away from that is because if you are constantly seeing name for every attribute, as we build out the form, it'll say f.textLabel, f.label, f.text field. It'll always say name. And I don't want you to think in your mind, seeing that all the time, that that's just part of the form. Does that make sense? So like that's kind of why I want to differentiate. But having said that explicitly, let's use name so there's no confusion, right? Is there anything else for party? Theme? Okay, and what is this theme? Okay, is that cool? Great. You know what? I don't want to get bogged down with these attributes, so I'm just going to leave it at 2. That make sense? One more?
Can we use a different database?
Fine, number of people. So is the party bumping, right? I don't know why I put numping, but so people, right? Or just attend.
Yeah, Boolean is good.
Attendees, right? Attendees. Cool? We're good? All right, and that is a integer. Almost made a string. You almost got me. Cool. What else do we need to do?
Yes. Generator.
See that?
Sorry.
We need to.
We need to use the method Rails generator to create our model GIFs.
Perfect, all right? So we're going to use Rails G to create the resource for our other model, which will be GIFs, right? And what is the attribute for GIFs? Price, right? And that is string? Who said, you said rice? Oh. In my head I was like, never mind. I was gonna go down a direction that I do not want on the recording. Great, price. Well, anything else? We cool? We could have a name too, right? Just name it up. Name it up. Great. Awesome. Awesome. What should we do now? Yeah, we should just make sure everything's created, right? So I can easily just pop into my Rails console and see, do I have a gift? Right? Can I do gift at all? Sure. Interesting. But can I create a gift right now? Why can't I create a gift?
You set up a database by migrating. Yeah.
That's good enough. That's good. That was actually good enough. Yeah. I don't have a database because I did not actually migrate. I've only created the migrations. So let's do that. So Rails DB migrate. Awesome. And I can always verify this by looking at the schema money. Cool, right? And now I have just opening my apps, checking out my controllers. Make sure I have my controllers, they're good to go. My models are in here, money, and my views, parties and gifts. Interesting. So we talked about like models and relationships, specifically between party and gifts. What is the relationship between party and gifts, and where would I write that code? And where would I want to write it?
Model.
Yes, absolutely, right? So combined answers is like the full answer, right? So in gift, right, what is the relationship between gift and party?
Belongs to.
Right, a little bit of this.
Singular.
There you go, there you go. And then for party, we have money. Awesome. So is there something I need to do potentially to create this association between these objects, something in the database that can refer to the ID of the other associated object? Something that says that, hey,
You need to create a foreign key with the ID.
yes, right? I need to create the foreign key in my database. The thing is, I've already migrated. What can I do to add that later?
Roll back, and then add the
Yeah, that's exactly correct. I can either create a new migration that's simply going to add the foreign key, or I can roll it back because I haven't really done anything yet, and just hop right back into the migration file, add the foreign key, and then remigrate. So let's do that instead. So Rails DB rollback. And is this going to roll back my whole database or just one? Just one. So I need to do it again. Cool. That way I should be at essentially 0. So which one of these migrations do I need to add the foreign key to? Well, what is the rule of thumb and what is like the line of thought here?
If it belongs to something, it gets the foreign key.
So which one belongs to what?
Gifts belong to the
So which one should get the foreign key? So in gifts, I should do what?
add a party ID.
Is everyone cool with this? Yeah? A little active record action? Awesome. Don't forget, we need to remigrate. Just to make sure, let's take a look at that schema. And now I see the party ID is successfully attached. Now let's actually test the associations. So let's hop back into the console, and I can do what? In my parties, because I shouldn't make a GIF first, right? Without a party to actually attach it to. So let's make a party first. So party.create, right? We have a name. What's the name of a party? Dank party, clutch. And what's the theme? Guy Fieri. Guy Fieri? I'm not gonna spell his name right. And what about attendees?
No.
That's cold. That's cold. I'll roll with it. So gift.create, all right? We have a price in here. So how much is, actually, you know what is this gift? All right, trash can nachos. Because that's just something that sounds like a dank Guy Fieri party would want, right? How much is this?
0.
Okay, I'll take it. And what is the party ID I should be associating this with? 1, right? Cool. So now I should be able to do gift.first to get that first gift object and ask to see which party it belongs to. And I have it. In the same way that I can do party.first and check to see what gifts are in there. Notice they return different things. If it is the singular, right, I return the actual object, which would make sense, right? Because there's only one of these things. But when I ask for the plural, the gifts, I'm going to get back a collection, even though this collection currently has just one item in it. So just understand the data structure that you're working with, right? And that's gonna clarify some mistakes that may or may not happen. Cool? Yes, sir.
Confused by why do you have party ID? Why isn't it assign IDs just by its creation? What's the point of that?
It has to do with foreign keys in active record, and we'll talk offline.
Okay, I thought that was implied, like you could just draw off of it and it's created automatically. You have that.
Everything has a primary key ID automatically assigned. The foreign key associates the object. We will talk offline. Cool? Awesome. So, great. So I know those associations work. My model is updated with the correct associations. All right, let's build out that full CRUD. I always ask this. Model is done. Viewer controller. Let's go controller. But which one first? But which one though? The gifts or the party? Let's do parties first, right? Only because here, if you can kind of follow along, right? When I do the create form for this, I'll have to have some sort of object, but here I don't. So let's start with this one first, something you know, and then I'll add on that new feature. Cool? So let's go parties. In my parties controller, what are my RESTful routes? What are the main CRUD functionalities that should be in here?
Index.
Okay,
New.
nice. Actually, I jumped the gun there. Cool. We have new. Nice. Someone else? Someone else?
Update.
Someone else? Someone else? Nice. Oh, this I'm gonna give it to you. That's me for you guys. You know what I'm saying? That's just me for you guys. This is a little weird for me in the way that the edit comes before update. So I'm gonna move that for clarity's sake. And then same with the show, right? The order does not matter. But what's up?
I thought order mattered.
Order mattered in a framework which will not be named, which is maybe not as great as Rails. Right. Yeah. Only because of the way the routes work. Right? Cool. So for index, what are the two things that every single one of these will have to do from the controller? Has to talk to the, and then pass back or send back a, right, or like a response. Right now we know it's a view. I keep saying response. It will make more sense later, I promise. Just want you to get into that terminology, right? So it's going to send back a response. That response is the view. So I'm no longer going to be writing model and response anymore in the comments. This is just something that I've done like 3 or 4 times now. It should start to make sense. So in the index, I'm getting all of them. Simply parties equals party.all. And then I'm going to render index. But as we know, Rails is super smart, and it actually will infer and imply that this method will inherently have something called index unless I hard code a different view. So let's go to show. What does show need? Add party, and that is, and it's going to be party.find with ID, and then what is the response? Cool. So what is new here? What do we need in new that you learned yesterday? At party equals to party.new, because remember the form 4 is going to need that empty object, right? And then I'm not going to do the render anymore because you're kind of starting to figure this out. In this create though, what do I need to do? At I'd rather just do create because new and save is create essentially, right? With what? With the strong params, right? So the convention here, yesterday, we went over what kind of params. What do we name it? I'll take it. Party params. Cool?
Are you later going to change it to private?
Well, actually, party params doesn't even exist yet. But I just know that that's where we're going, right? Because remember, the strong params, it needs to be permitted true. So that being said, why don't I go ahead and make it right now before I forget and get lost. I'm going to create the private here, do my def party params, and that's not good code. Cool. And what is party params going to need in here? first it's going to need the nested hash that's coming through the form. And as we know, it will automatically build it for us. So what is the nested hash it will build? Party, absolutely. Right? And then I need to permit which parameters do I want to permit? Well, for parties, there's name, theme, and attendees, right? So let's permit name. Oh, sorry. That was a syntax error there. Name. What else was it? Theme. And then, and that gangster spelling, right? Cool. Are there any questions on just the strong params? Just for fun?
You could do star args if you didn't want to just type all of them out.
While you are technically correct, the whole point in strong params is what?
You only let certain attributes through or to make them changeable.
Correct. And you were going to say?
I was going to say, so that, is it also because you don't want other people to, like, change it? Like, isn't it called whitelist?
Yeah, so you're going to tell Rails that what comes through on the form, I only want these specific attributes to actually update or create in my database. So if I wind up using something like star args, which star is the computer programming like universal definition for like everything, right? So if I do star args, I'm saying let everything through. But the whole point of strong params is that I want to specifically let only specific things through. I want to whitelist specific attributes. So using star args here is like having a lock on your door that does not work. Like, great, there's a lock, but anyone can open the door anytime, all the time. So it defeats the purpose. So do not use star args. Although it will work, it is, I don't say this very often, it defeats the purpose. And so it's not the right way to do it. Does that make sense? Did everyone kind of understand that? Yeah.
So then what's the difference between using party, I guess, party programs versus attribute reader, like changing, you know how you have the attribute reader, or attribute accessor essentially?
You mean the setter?
Yeah, there.
Okay. So party params, it will run through the validations. If you hard code and manually update the attribute, it will skip validations. So you'd want to use something like this. Cool? Awesome. We haven't gotten to validations yet, but the concept is still clear, right? I want to be able to validate first before I save to the database. If you hard code manually, type in like which attributes to update, it'll forego the validations in certain cases, and we'd rather not that. So, great, I just created. Just leave it. Good job. Good job, boss. It's all done. Just like render white page. Okay, cool. So let's redirect to where? So I just index here? Ooh, the party's path. All right. Well, y'all really bumping and grinding here. Cool. So what is edit? What do we need here? Same thing as show? Oh, that looks familiar. Let me just grab that. Cool. Do I need to do anything else here? The response is implied. All right, what about update? Seem to be doing a lot of this command V action here. Interesting. What about update now? What do I need to do?
Redirect.
Well, I actually need to,
Oh, yeah.
I actually want to update, right? With what? Party params. There we go. Now we need to redirect to party path and passing in the at party. Here we can actually go to the specific party as well. You just all want it to go to the index, so I'm gonna let that fly. All right, you can redirect to wherever it is that you want to redirect to. You as a class have chosen to redirect to index, and that's fine. Yeah, I could literally redirect to Google, which would be like a terrible user experience, right? Great, you made a new party, google.com. You're like, all right, thanks. But yeah, cool. So all I'm doing here is showing that you can redirect to either one. Awesome. And then finally, destroy, I'm going to be doing what? I got to do that find again. Ugh, trash. And then I'm going to delete it. And then I'm going to... This one, though, specifically, I probably want to redirect to the index, right? Because if I redirect to that specific party, well, womp womp, it's gone, right? That show page is no longer going to exist. It's going to run into a find error, and then your whole code and your app is going to be broken. And that's not cool. So first thing, before we kind of go anywhere and like build this, the controller for CRUD is done, right? It took what, 5 minutes? And that's me like asking. Imagine you were just like doing this on your own, maybe 2 or 3, right? So like the CRUD is starting to get faster because now you're understanding it more. And it's designed to be that way so that you can actually, like I said in the beginning, build the custom features that you want to build. You don't want to be spending all this time building CRUD because CRUD is going to be the same every time. Just knock that CRUD out, and now let's do cool things with it. So the first thing I want to show you is I seem to see this line of code everywhere. The command V'd it a lot. So the rule of thumb when it comes to just coding in general is if you see something 3 or more times, go ahead and refactor it, right? Extract it out into a separate method. So here, what I want to do is I probably want to make some sort of method, right? That's called, what is this, like find party? Would that make sense to you? Right? A method called find party, and all it's going to do is this. Cool. My question to you is, would anyone from outside the application or outside this controller ever need access to this particular method? No. So should I just maybe tuck it away? Would that make a sense? Cool. So let's do that. Bloop. What I can do now is I can very easily do find party. And this is just regular Ruby, right? I'm going to do this. I'm just going to call the method. All right? A little bit of this. Bloop. A little bit of this. Bloop. A little bit more of that. Bloop. Okay, just kidding. Wrong one. Oh, boop. Oh, just kidding. This one? Oh, okay, just kidding. So let me just, oh yeah, you're right. Ooh, embarrassing. I was looking for like face reactions and I wasn't actually looking at my code, which is a weird problem to have. Anyways, were there any questions on how I did this refactor? Okay, so there's something called callbacks in Rails. And that is before, after, or even while, or like around technically, some of these actions are run, I can execute a method. So wouldn't it be nice if I can do something, it's weird, like before, right? So if you remember in the Rails routes, we call these controller actions, right? We call these each controller action. So before action, what do I want to do? I want to run a method called find party. Do I want to run it for all 7? Only which ones? Show, edit, update, and delete. Oh, I think it's destroy. Yeah? So now, it's this one line right here is going to be running find party before show. It's going to run it before edit. It's going to run it before update. And it's going to run it before destroy. And that is the refactor. Are there any questions on that?
What kind of, or when is this used in the actual websites?
Okay. It's an interesting question, right? So the question that I think that we want to start transitioning into is production. When would I use this in production? So when you keep saying actual websites, right, that almost goes to imply and infer that what you're building is not real. And I don't want that to happen, right? Because what you're building, and you'll see, right, probably not going to feel it right now, but when you start to get to next week after you like crush the coding challenge, you're going to be like, I can't wait to build something really cool. If you still remember back to the Mod 2 Science Fair when you were in Mod 1, you're like, holy crap, like I'm going to be able to build something like that. So they're very much real websites. You just haven't deployed them on the internet, right? So start thinking like more like production versus just development, or maybe like Schoolhouse or something, right? That being said, this is extremely popular in regards to a design pattern because did you see how many lines of code I just saved? And it's still just as readable. What you don't want to do is save 1 or 2 lines and write this really sexy line of code and it be not readable at all to anyone but you. Here what I'm saying is before I do show, edit, update, or destroy, I'm going to run something called find party. Right? So in my show, I have to find the party for show. Then I'm going to render show. That is very readable. Cool? So then there's also naturally something called after action. Let's think about like when that might be useful, right?
You're rendering to the same thing.
Could be, right? But we don't really talk about this very much. This is something I want to like pique your interest. Maybe it's like a blog idea in the future. Maybe it's something you want to incorporate inside your Mod 2 project. Is something called mailers right here. And what this does is it allows you in your Rails app to send emails to people. So given that idea, if this wasn't a parties controller, maybe this is a parties controller. Maybe you're building a parties app where you can RSVP to parties, right? So if you RSVP to party, you hit what action? Right? So maybe after action, only create, you run a method that says email the person the invite. Right? Maybe you have like a user on your website. After that user gets created, email that user's email and say, hey, thanks for joining Bing Rewards, right? You and like the 9 other people that use it, right? Something like that, right? So just understand that there's more to Rails. And just want to like give you ideas, but Rails can do a lot for you. Yes, sir.
Just kind of trying to understand how it works. Let's say if index and show both rendered to index.
Index and show both rendered to index.
Yeah.
Why would I have a show?
I don't know, just humor me.
Okay, sure.
And then I put after action, and then I put render only for show and index.
Yeah.
Would that work?
That would work. Absolutely. Right? I'm specifying which one of these it will run. Right? And you can have, if you wanted to, like custom methods in here. And then you would just simply add custom in here. Chief, what's up?
So you know how your last example when you applied to one action?
Okay.
Before it was create.
Yeah.
The email. So would you still do the after action, or can you just like add it to the create method?
I would just add it to the create method if it only applied to one, right? I'm not saving or doing anything by extracting it up here. But, you know, good point. Cool. Anyways, so it looks like this is done. Let's build some views just to kind of like see this, kind of go through this one more time. But I'm going to move a lot faster. Slow me down if you need it, but I could tell that this CRUD is starting to really stick. So I built this parties controller. I'm going to have an index.erb. I have to have something called new.erb. And we'll have to have something called show.erb. And we'll probably have something called edit.erb. And then, is there anything else I need for here? Do I need a delete page? Interesting. Cool. So what is index? Probably some title, right? Some generic title, right? You don't want to see me write index. So need to Ruby interpolate the parties. Each do for each of these. I'll take care of it. I see it. I see it. Syntax hounds over here. Cool. And then all I'm going to do is display the party.name. But I'm also going to increase and improve my user experience. Before I get that, let's actually see it come up. I need to start the server. I need to jump right into localhost 3000, and I will get to, how do I get to the index for parties? Nice. Dank. Oh, that's right, I only have one. Whoops, embarrassing. What I can do is increase that user experience and do a link to, with the party name being what's displayed, and then the ultimate path. So before we've seen something called party path, and then we're passing in the party, right? So I refresh. This should be going to, if you want to look, and I'm going to pull this up here. If you look right here on the bottom, it will tell you party/1. Right? Boom, party/1. Cool? If you really wanted to, the second one is always the link. It's always the actual URL. Party path is implied if you just pass in the party object, just like this. So if you see something like this, don't be scared. It's okay. All it means is go to the party path. Here's the object already. Cool? Probably want to also increase that experience by linking to, right, edit party with what path? Edit party path. Do I need to pass in the object here? Is it looking for a specific party to edit? Yes. So I'm going to pass it in. And then ultimately, link to, right? Delete the party. You said it was dank, but it was not. Right? So what is the route here? Well, where can I go to at least reference it if we forget? I can do rake routes, but I can also do localhost 3000 / Rails info routes. If I wanted to get to this destroy, right, I can do the gift path with the method of destroy. Right? So I can do gift path, party path, loop, party path, passing it in the party object. And then I need to tell it what is the main difference between party path and like all the other ones, right? All these other ones here. How do I get it not to show or either the two updates, but get to destroy? Absolutely. Method is delete. And that's going to be the decision maker. Cool. Get right back, a little bit of this action. I can delete it, I can edit it, and I can look at it. Cool? Sweet. So let's build the show. H1. Specific title here. This is the show page, yeah? Right, like put whatever you want. So interpolate, add party. We have the name. I can just put something like name here. Right? I think there was a theme. Add party.theme. Just to see it work, I'm going to refresh. Go to the show page through this link, and I see it right there. Cool. I'm not going to delete it because then I'll have like no seed data, and I'll have like nothing to work with. So let's leave it alone, right? Any questions on kind of like the CRUD functionality on party? How I was able to build all of that in like probably like honestly like maybe like 30 minutes.
You just go back to previous ERP page.
This one?
Page, the index. Yeah. Just wanted to have a look at that. Delete the party. What's actually
That is correct. You do need the method delete there because party path needs the verb to tell it should I be going to which party path. Right? Awesome. So let's go get right down to it. We have this new, right? Not even going to bother with like this title. We know it's going to be a form for because I have an associated object. All right? I get rid of this. And the form is for what new? The party, right? And what was the text field that we wanted? The one that I so desperately wanted to avoid? Name, right? Anything else? We have a theme. Anything else? The attendees, right? But is that a text field? And what should it be? I believe it's number field, right? Here it's a bit hard to see, so I'm going to add f.label, and it's going to be the name. Cool. So all I'm going to do is copy this, paste it here, change this theme as well, and then change this to attendees. Add my little indents in here. If you hold Command and click, it'll add another cursor for you. If you get one of these Rails snippets, you hold, I think it's Option, you click and drag, it'll give you multiple cursors like this. Right? That's just a Rails snippet. I mean, a Atom package. I think it's called Sublime Columns. Cool. That's correct. They did steal it from Sublime Text. All right, and then just to make sure I don't have a terrible form user experience, I need the awesome. All right? Let's take a look to see if this new in fact works. Great, let's make a new party. What is the name? All right, Vicky's super awesome party, and the theme is all about Vicky. Attendees, everybody. Everyone's there. That's how big your house is. You got a nice house. Let's create this party. And there it is. Vicky's super awesome party. Cool. Interesting. What about the edit? What did I say about the edit that's kind of like cool about this amazing thing here? They look the same, right? Because it's going to do @party.name, @party.theme, @party.attendees. And because it exists, this submit becomes update party. If I'm writing the exact same line of code, should I refactor?
Is this where you would use -1 and then render?
Yes.
Or could you just render it to new?
Before I get deep in that rabbit hole, let me finish my explanation, then I'll answer a question, right? So, if you remember, there was something called that layout all the way in the beginning, kind of explained it a little bit in Sinatra, how it's getting the doc type, the HTML, the head, the footer, and all those other things if I'm not writing it inside this ERB file. And it's coming from, if you remember, in the layouts, application. All right? In this yield is where the actual ERB files gets rendered. Right? So if I were to make, say, a new file, and I'll call it _form, which indicates that it is a partial. Has anyone gotten to this point yet? Does anyone want to take a stab at what partial is? Okay? It's all right. All I'm going to do is, in this form, in this _form, it's called a partial because I want to let other people know I do not want the layout included in this particular file. The reason I say that is because in the new, if I have this exact line of code, in the new, I can replace this. Weird. Render, sorry, form. All I'm saying is inside this new, which is already getting the layout, by the way, I'm rendering another ERB file. And in this ERB file, it's a partial. All it contains is this form data. Right? I can do the same for edit, and I can do render form. Here, I do not have the underscore here. Underscore is just a naming convention to let other people know that this ERB file is going to be used to be rendered in other ERB files. It is a partial. So let's just take a look to see if everything, if everything is still working. I can go to my new and see that it is. Just to make sure I'm not crazy, I'm going to go to my new, and I'm finally going to add this tag and be like new party form. And I refresh, and there it is, new party form. And all of this is coming from that _form partial. And so I'm saving myself from writing the same code over and over. Every time I want a form for this party, I'm going to just use the underscore form. Yeah.
What if you wanted to customize the submit button or some aspect of it just needs to
It's called passing in locals, right? If I wanted to, right, pass in a custom object, like let's just say in my new, I wanted to add a custom thing to my form, right? Different from edit. I would render and I would pass in what are known as locals. We're not going to do that today. That's a little bit down the rabbit hole and will not be on the assessment, so I don't want to overload you with information necessarily. But they're called locals, and that is how you can pass in additional information to the form specifically. All right. If you want to learn more about it, we can talk offline. I'll send you some resources, and I'll deploy labs on it. Yes. Good to go. Any questions on this refactor and the partial of underscore form? Once? Twice? Does anyone want a break? Spend 41 minutes exactly. Awesome. All right, let's go to GIFs, right? Remember this, remember this, remember this. Interesting. If I wanted to, say, do this, if I hit Command, hold Command, I press D, it will highlight the next one. So, is it parties here, or is it GIFs? Is it party, or is it gift? Is it party params? So instead of find party, I'm finding gift. And not party params, I'm going to be passing in gift params. Redirect to the gifts path. Update with the gift params in the gift path. And then for at party, I can just boop, 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 and do gift. Oh, just missed one. Oh, embarrassing. Cool. Last one. Sorry. Stop the madness. Stop the madness. But what are, and this is a big doozy, right? What are the attributes for gift, though? Still have name. Can't get rid of that.
Price and then the ID.
And what was it?
Party.
Party ID. That took 1 minute. Yeah? So you can see how after you build the first one, that CRUD becomes very, very fast. And it don't make no sense if I showed this to you without explaining everything under the hood. Are there any questions on how that happened?
What was it to command?
Command, hold command, and every time you press D, it will highlight and select the next one that matches exactly what you highlighted. Cool? So naturally, gift is done. I'm not going to bore you with doing like the gift index or the gift show. I'm simply going to go right into the form, jump right into the new, right? So in that, let's do the new. Okay, just so I'm not crazy, this is the gift new, not party new, for show. Great. What do I need in here? I need the form tag or the form for. Do I have the object? I do, right? That's going to be the @gift. Cool. Let me just get rid of this. Let me just create this f.label real quick for name, because we love that. Love name. Right. Oops. Bloop, bloop. So what was the other ones? And? Party ID. And these are both number fields, right? And then, of course, almost got me good, and hit submit. Let's take a look at the gift new. All right? I put this in here just so I can obviously see the change. Cool? Any questions so far? Yeah. It's calling gift @party ID and is returning the party object. So it understands that it's going to be for a party. Rails is doing a lot of smart magic, but very good question. In the same way that I can add like some cool thing in here and then like some price, do I know specifically the party ID I want to remember this from Sinatra? And then I was like, oh, how do I solve this? And I was like, wouldn't it be nice to have some sort of drop down? And then I did literally like HTML, like drop down. And then I was like, oh wow, W3 schools. And I clicked it. And then I was like, great, look, our good friend Volvo, Saab, Mercedes, you remember this? And then I copied and pasted it and put it directly in there, and we had like a working drop down. Do you remember this? Okay. What if I did something like Rails form drop down? What would come up? Rails form drop down. Literally just Googled it. How do I have a drop down select field in Rails forms? You are not the first and will not be the last to look this up. Stack Overflow, right? So I usually go to the docs, but here I'm going to diverge a little bit just to kind of see and point out a couple things that are important as developers, right? This is like a very normal workflow process. I'm going to look to see, is this question exactly what it is that I'm trying to do? Actually, it just matches pretty well here. I'm trying to create scaffold. Maybe not, but the question is really good. Let's see if there is a best answer. This green check mark indicates it's voted a significantly high number of times, which means that this is probably a pretty good answer. You might want to take a look at the Rails documentation. That's a jerk answer, right? But then actually answers it as well and says, there's something called f.collectionSelect. Cool. Well, interesting. Let me just click the documentation just to see, because other people thought that this was a good answer. So let's take the... Yeah. It's the author has to click best answer, right? This actually solved the question. So let's take a look at the Rails documentation now. Oh, wow. Collection select. Cool. Let's see how it's used. Collection select, and it looks like there's a bunch of like interesting things like post, author ID, author.all, and there's a lot of things in here. This is what it builds for me though. Is this not what I want? It's exactly what I want, right? It looks exactly like this. Right? So you kind of piece the two together. You're like, oh wow, that makes sense to me. I can see how this might be the answer. So let's do that. This is collection select. So here, let's try collection select. Inside the form, we can always call f.collectionSelect. And we can do a couple things. Let's do this. Let's copy this. And what we'll do is we will try our best to mirror and see if we can get this code to work for us. Because right now we do not have posts, we do not have authors, we don't have any of this. So how can I manipulate this code knowing that this is probably what it is that I want to work for me? Well, just like I know all of you do, is you read the documentation very thoroughly and then you make an educated guess, right? Of course. You guys are so good. You had something?
I was going to say, if you go back to the study, it tells you the models that they're using as examples.
Absolutely, right? So in order for us to manipulate this for our needs, right, the documentation here says, well, it's dealing with something called post, something like author. Well, we have parties and gifts. It looks like the relationship between post and author is exactly the same relationship we have with parties and gifts. So, the post belongs to author, right? Author has many posts. So let's take a look here. So what is this first object in here? It's a little tricky. The first object is what this collection select is for. The difference between collection select and f.collection_select is the form object, right? This form builder thing here that we've got. This f is always going to refer to this particular gift. So normally what we'd have here is gift, right? Because instead of post, we have the gift here. But we do not need to pass in gift because we have the F block. So I'm going to get rid of this. Did I lose anyone on that?
No, what happens if you give pass and gift?
It will automatically assume this is the first argument. But if I'm implicitly giving it through the F block and I'm already giving a gift, it will read this as the second argument, which I don't want it to do. Right? So post, let's do this. You ready? Post belongs to author. So, bless you. Right? I have this F block here, f.collect and select. F is referring to @gift. I do not need to include @gift. So @post, the first argument, I can get rid of. And I can also get rid of @gift here because it was implied through the F block. That's like one more time, yeah? The next argument is this author ID. Well, I can probably very much assume now that I'm probably talking about party ID, right? Cool, 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 cool. Whoop, that's not what I'm looking for. And author.all. Well, just following in this convention, right? Let's just like think through this here. Author.all. What would I possibly want to put here? Party.all. Cool. What is this ID parameter? Well, let's think through what we know right now.
It's the ID within the parameters.
Yes, but for now, it just says ID. Do I know if this is referring to author or gift or party or what? I don't really know. But what I do know is I can probably leave it alone and test to see what it is later because ID is a shared attribute amongst every single attribute, right? So I'm just looking here. Post, author, gift, party, everything has ID. I cannot at this time determine what ID should represent, right? But I know that if I leave it alone, it'll probably run, right? What it will point to, not 100% sure yet. Does that make sense? I'm trying to take the point of view of what you would be looking at when you're implementing a new feature, right? Like I'm going to rip some of this code. I can kind of make some adjustments, and then I just want it to work, and then I'm going to play with it and break it and then really understand it, right? So does that make sense for everybody? Like kind of like what I'm thinking here? So I'm just going to leave ID alone. Name with initial, okay? I see a method in here called name with initial, right? And all it's doing is it's taking the author's first name and last name. So I can assume now that it's calling this method and it's just putting it in here. Do we have a method inside either of these models that can return to me a name? Name. I have a method called name, right? Party.name will give me the name. Gift.name will give me the gift's name. So I see in here name with initial, and I also see it defined here, and all it's doing is giving me back a string. Do you see how I kind of like inferred this information just based on the docs? So I have something called name. I'm just going to guess at this point. Educated guessing, all right? Prompt true. I don't know really what this does, so I'm going to leave it alone. Probably needs it. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together. So I'm going to just hit save. I'm going to go back to my Gifty. I'm going to hit refresh, and it broke.
You can put it in.
Oh, sorry. Actually, I should be putting it here. I was like, oh snap, it shouldn't have broke. Prompt true. Cool. And then I'm gonna just blast this away. Cool. I was like, oh man, that should have worked. So I almost panicked for a second. Cool. So what do I see here? Please select. And this is exactly what I want, actually. Isn't it? Like I get to pick from the parties that I have. Obviously, the Dank party from Guy Fieri, and then Vicky's super awesome party, Not much of a selection, but yeah.
I think I know what prompt true does.
What does prompt true do?
I think it puts in the please select. Because I was actually going to ask when I was doing one of the labs, it filled in the first item.
Yeah.
Which is ugly. So
Yeah. So now, please select this here, right? Now that I know it works, right? I've actually got it rendering. Let's start playing around. The first thing I want to mess with, right, is I have absolutely no idea what prompt true does. I have some idea. I have a guess at ID. I think name was correct. Still not 100% sure. But prompt true, literally no idea. So if I blast it, let's see what happens, right? Do you kind of like see the thought process here? All right, great. It looks like please select was gone. So prompt true is probably prompting you to pick one of the items inside this select. Let's see what it actually comes up as inside the form. I can always check that by going to my inspector, hitting this, and seeing, my select, it built this dropdown for me, option value. Value 1, value 2. So if I do not select anything, nothing gets passed through in params. Right? So far, so good? So we'll just leave prompt true in there because it's like a good user experience. But now I know what it does. I'm very confident in what that prompt true does. Is that like fair to say, right? Based on how I broke it. So let's do something else. Ready? I guessed earlier at what this name is, right? Remember, this is for gift. What other attributes of gift can I call? I can see price, maybe. So if I changed price in here, what should I expect to see in this dropdown? Right, wait, gift has a price?
it's, for the collection select we're talking
Oh,
about.
talking about party. Sorry, yeah. I'm talking about party, sorry, you're right. Ooh, zoning. What are the attributes of party? Thank you. Theme, right? So I can do theme. Actually, this error message will tell you exactly what you're looking for. Undefined method price for party object. It seems to me that whatever I put in here, it's going to call on the party object. I can now infer that thanks to me breaking it. So I change this to theme because I know theme is an attribute of party, right? Because I want to call a method on party. That's what Rails looks like it's doing here under the hood for me. So if I hit refresh, I should see what? The themes. And so, so that's what this is. I am now 100% confident what this attribute is. So the last three are kind of like still sort of nebulous, right? Does that make sense? So if I did party.all, I want to know what kind of changes if I were to change this to, say, gift.all. Right? Because those are my only two models, right? I want to know what else is there. So let's break it. Undefined method theme for gift object. It seems to me that whatever I pass in here in this parameter is going to be the collection that I'm iterating through for my dropdown. And then, just to display, I'm going to call this parameter on it to see what will display. But that's just a theory based on the error message that I'm reading. So what do we have for gift that I can call on just to test this? Price, right? Because party does not have a price. I don't want to use name because both have name, and it could lead to inconclusive evidence. So if I change the price, hit refresh, and I will see the price. I don't have the price for the other one because I think we actually didn't set a price for it. So like nil doesn't come up as a select value.
So I have a question. So then party underscore ID doesn't do anything?
It's not that it doesn't do anything, it's we don't know what it does yet, right? But what we can do is we can take a look at the form. So I see gift here, and I see party ID as like the nested key hash. Interesting. So I know for a fact what comes up here based on what I'm selecting through, what I'm iterating through, and then the method I want to call on it. Based on the documentation, I can come up inside the model with custom names that I want. And that's how I can build that if I wanted to, right? I can see that now. This is starting to make more sense to me. So let's just change it back to what we know we actually need. And that is, we want this gift to be associated with a party, and we want the name to be coming up as the actual attribute here. Cool? So what could party ID possibly be?
I'm just rewind just quick that when you change name to theme, what does theme attribute give us back?
Just the name, literally
To show the name of the part,
the theme of the party.
That's it.
That's it. Yep. No, don't be. That's a great question. In case anyone else had it, it's a good clarifier. Always good.
Would party ID be the attribute that this dropdown is assigning for the gift?
Yeah. So let's think of like what gift is, right? We have a choice here. We can either party ID actually only belongs to gift, right? So what other attribute of gift do we have? Price and name. So what if I put name in here? What do you think will happen? Will it break? It didn't break. But what happened here? The key changed.
You're assigning the ID of the gift instead
What else do we have? It changes what is the nested params that come through. So to make it even more explicit, right? I'm gonna change it back to price ID. I'm gonna drop a binding in the create, and let's take a look at the params that come through. That's definitely what I put. You guys are crazy. Let's take a look at those params. So for those that are already seeing that Rails is a monster and that there's a ton of files in this file structure, if I already know the name of the file, because you can start to think, right? Let's say I have 6, 7, 8 models. They're going to be hard to go through each of those indexes. It's going to be hard to find because the file structure is going to be so big. I want to be able to search through my entire file structure to look for a specific file. This is, honestly, one of the best search algorithms I've ever seen. If you hold Command-T, this little thing comes up, and it's going to follow this source tree, app, controllers, and then this. So if I wanted to find a controller, like gift controller, like there's a lot of things that come up with gift, right? Like a gift folder, gift model, gift is in my schema. I can do controller, gift, and it'll give me the gifts controller. I can just click this, it'll give it to me right away. It's so good, it will just infer everything you can, space separated. If I put con, gift, it'll find it. It'll just search, oh, con must be like controller, then gift. I'll try it. Right?
What was the
Command T, yeah, I know. Memorize that one. Trust me, you're gonna want that. All right? So I want to go back to what controller? The gifts controller, right? Here, I want to show you what the params come out as. I'm just gonna drop, oh, sorry. What is this, mod 1? Joke. I want to actually now, where were we? No worries, search, right? And what is it that I'm looking for? Just so we have a little practice with this. Yes, exactly. In the gifts, we have a new file. Cool. So let's play with this. Ready? I have party ID. Let's just submit this for funsies, right? Name, let's see. Name field, price field is like 1, 2, 3, just so you can kind of see it. And then the party, let's pick Dank. The only reason I want to pick Dank is because I know Dank is the first one. So I've already set in my mind, like I'm looking for like party ID 1, right? So if I hit create gift, I should hit the yeah, I almost said debugger, BuyBug, yeah. And I will, in fact, hit the BuyBug, and I want to see what comes across on params. Party ID 1, that was correct. I don't have enough evidence now to prove that that was 100% was happening, but I can always keep guessing. Price is coming out exactly as I assumed it would. So is this name field. I have my gift params, so I can do params with the key of gift and get exactly what it is that I want. So I know that this is at least isolated and coming up correctly. I can exit. I can change this party ID, right, to price, something like that, right, which is an attribute of gift. I can go back, not gifts. How do I, great. So now this is price. So let's see here. Let's see what happens. Ready? Name again. Price is some ridiculous number. And then party, just to make sure I'm changing the data and I can see something different coming across, I'm going to put Vicky Super Awesome Party, which I know is ID 2. So if I see that ID change to 2, I know that that's actually what I'm affecting, right? So if I hit create gift, I get right back into my params. I'm going to jump into params only with the key of gift so I'm not flooding the screen with unnecessary data. And I see name, but price is pointing to 2. Interesting. What happened here? Well, I can tell you. All right. The first time I did gift, all right, it had a name, it had a price, and then because I used price here, it used the price hash again, the price key again, changed it to 2, and it overwrote what the original one is. We can triple check this just to make this super clear. What is the third attribute for gift? Huh? Name? Great. I can exit out of here. And look, gift name came up now. So name, price, something ridiculous, and let's just go with 2 again. If I hit create gift, hit my BuyBug, params at a key of gift, gives me name 2, price something weird. It's probably because it's overriding that name, right? So let's change this back to party ID. Exit out of here. Go to gifts new. Put in something ridiculous, something more ridiculous, and just 2 again, just to make sure that it is 100% what we say it is. Create the gift, check the params, and I'm getting this ridiculous thing, this price, and now party ID is pointing to 2. This is just showing you what comes up as params, but if we actually understand the HTML, which I pointed out last time in Sinatra, and that is in my select, this name field is going to be the key, right? And the value is going to be what actually gets passed in. So let's take a look at everything, start to finish, what's going on. The party ID is going to refer to what gets passed in as the value for the select, for the options, right? Party.all is what actually gets iterated through, right, in my collect, right? This ID, the ID is what gets passed in here. Sorry. Party ID is the key field in the params for select. That was it, sorry. Name is what actually gets called here and what's displayed on the page. Prompt true gives us this please select option. And I figured that out by copying, by Googling it, hitting that Stack Overflow, seeing some code, just inferring some knowledge from the documentation, then breaking it. So now I mastered it. Now I can debug this code anytime I want. And that's ultimately the goal, right? Do I understand this? Should I memorize it? Absolutely not. Because once you kind of see and understand it, the next time you see it, you're like, oh my God, I forgot which one's which. I'm just gonna Google it real quick. And then you'll see it, like, oh, the third parameter does this. I remember that now. That's gonna stroke my memory and be like, oh, I get it. I understand this. So committing it to memory is a waste of your time. It's the understanding and what's happening under the hood. And if you ever even forget that, change it a couple times. It'll only take you a few minutes, and you're like, oh, that's right. I remember now, it does that. So be prepared to break things. Be prepared to play with them and just understand them. Cool? So the last thing I want to go over, and then I'll let you go, is party.all. This is a view file that's touching the model directly. What did I say about that? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Exactly. I wish I had more hands. I give that 4 thumbs down. So what I want to do is I want to change that to something like maybe at parties. All right? So I want to change, essentially, this to be at parties. In my gifts controller, in my new for gift, right? In my gifts controller, in my new, I have at gift. Can I just simply do at parties equals party.all? And then, now that I have that, I can do at parties here. Right? Because I'm passing in at parties, which is in fact party.all. Right here. Just going to do a quick refresh after I get out of this buy bug. And just do a quick refresh and see that it is in fact still working as intended, right? Are there any questions on how to do f.select and the full CRUD? Strong params we went over, the before action, the refactor of form. There's something I want to touch on, and that is, what if I delete this party? All the gifts that are associated with that party, what do you think will happen? Right, it will still point to party ID 1, but if I delete party ID 1, it's going to point to something that no longer exists, right? It's like, hey, this gift is for party ID 1, but yeah, party ID 1 doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, that's great, this goes to party ID 1. You're like, something about that doesn't seem right to me. That is a phenomenon in your database known as widowing. If I widow a record in my database, it means that whatever I've associated with is no longer there. There's something in here, I'm not gonna like fully go over it, it's literally one line of code. It's called dependent destroy. If there are objects that are associated with something, and then that associated parent object is gone, I want all the children that are directly associated with it to also be destroyed. All right? Any dependencies, any objects that depend on this parent will also get destroyed. So look into something called dependent destroy. I will not test you on it on Friday, but just so you've heard it before. I know that we've hit the 1 hour mark and the focus is pretty low, so I'm just going to explain it to you conceptually. Cool? Awesome. If there's no questions, that's all I got for you.